I'd like to call to order the 1 p.m. meeting of October 18th, 2021 for the town trustees. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
to the republic
which it stands, one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty.
and justice for all.
Okay, very good. Will the Secretary Treasurer please call the roll?
President Eric Schultz.
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Scott M. Horowitz, I am here. Trustee Ed J. Warner Jr.
Present.
Trustee William Pell IV.
Present.
Trustee Ann Welker.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Okay, great. All right. So what we're going to have to do, first of all, is we're going to have to do a walk-on resolution for appointment of Jessica as a records management officer, so she can record all the votes and everything.
I will give you a second for the walk-on.
Okay. Okay, so the all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we have a resolution to appoint Jessica as official records management officer because our records management officer has tendered her papers for retirement, and we need Jessica to take over that position so she can compile the minutes and everything. So I'd like to make the motion that we appoint her that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'd also like to thank Lisa Dunlap for her service to the trustees, and we wish her well.
Yes.
Absolutely. I wish Lisa all the
100%.
best in her retirement.
Yes. Well deserved.
She did a fabulous job helping get the trustees, really on track. And I think that a lot of her hard work and dedication will live on, forever in the legacy of the trustees. She really did a great job when she got there. And I hope she has a great retirement.
Yep.
She deserves it.
Yeah, she really did put her heart and soul into the office, helping each and every one of us, bringing up the trustees, modernizing modern technology into the office. A wonderful person to work with, and always was willing to help us or anybody else. So I want to personally thank her for a job well done, and I want to wish her all the success in any future endeavors.
Absolutely. And the lady in the center of the screen there, Jessica Feldman's also done a very fabulous job in the present day, and will do a great job, I'm sure, in the future day at this.
Thank you.
With this new responsibility she just got handed.
Lisa will be best, but thank you.
Well, all the staff is doing a great job. Working together like a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
Yes, I second that.
Very good. Okay, so next work session is Monday, November 1st. Next regular meeting is November 1st, also at 1 o'clock. Do we have any discussions right now? We can save them to the end of the meeting too.
Yeah, I'd like to put them to the end.
Okay, so public hearings. First public hearing on is to convert the 2022 Board of Trustees tentative budget to a preliminary budget and schedule a public hearing.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried. Okay. So I'd like to go out of order a little bit and review a application that's been before us for quite a while. And I'd like to propose a walk-on. Oh, no, actually, it's actually, I believe, scheduled for 65 Cliff Drive. Yes, scheduled for later on. But I'd like to do it now before public comment. So I'd like to move it to the first item on the agenda, okay?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, so James, you want to bring that up?
Is there anyone to come in on this one?
What do you want me to bring up, Eric?
Nobody, the only person that would come in is Madeline Van John or any of the other applicants' representatives. This is a standard resolution for a permit.
Eric, what do you want me to bring up?
Oh, bring up the application that was submitted today.
Okay.
Absolutely, I'm the end there.
Okay, now the permit that was originally submitted to us was a low sill bulkhead. We met with the DEC on site to figure out, in the matter of coordinating everything to get this thing flowing easily, is to have them come on site, and they required some certain elevations. The applicant has now submitted an application before us that shows a bulkhead that is at an elevation of 2.5 feet cap. They have listed Spartina alterniflora behind that, but I think that's erroneously put in there because that would never survive being a foot above high water. It has to be inundated twice a day. So where we left this in work session, there was certain requirements that we were dealing with as far as tiebacks and tie rods and dead men in the 10-foot area. Complicates the fact with also that there's covenants and restrictions on this property that were placed by mistake or by the Conservation Board, seeing that the trustee, it was a trustee structure, approved structure in the first place, and it was ordered removed by the Conservation Board, and it shouldn't have been. So now this is for reconstruction of the bulkhead in the same place and reclamation dredging in front of it to provide some water flow into the adjacent canal. Now, at the work session, we were talking about coordination with the DEC again. I spoke to Rob Marsh of the DEC, and he seems to think that there's some alterniflora there. And this is going to be, I think the best solution to this, after speaking with him, is to permit the bulkhead at the height that the applicant is proposing, which is basically about 1.5 feet above high water. The DEC suggested that if there are areas after the bulkhead is completed, as it ties in with the other ones, there is an area that alterniflora could be planted, that some holes be put in the bulkhead to allow for high tide water to flow into that particular area and nourish that particular marsh. So it'd be kind of like a hybrid. They wanted to provide access by the path, so it would essentially be higher in that area. I mean, the grade would be higher. And then as it slopes towards the east, that if there's an area of alterniflora, it could be small cutouts be put in the bulkhead to allow for some water flow in there. Does everybody get that? Any questions on that?
We had done actually the opposite, Eric, at Agawam. I believe there were holes drilled in that bulkhead in order to relieve the rainwater that was accumulating on the parking lot. So this is something that we have done in the past in the opposite direction. So this is something that's basically allowing a wetlands to be established or be reestablished in an area if it's low enough, then it will take by just basically feeding it salt water, which would keep it alive.
Right. So if we granted this permit and the DEC came in with suggestions on where alterniflora would be flourishing, it would be a simple task of just drilling some holes in the bulkhead in that particular area. I don't know what they're going to come up with in the end, but my suggestion is that one of the following conditions on this particular plan would be to reclaim soil that was left, that washed into the mouth of the channel, use that for backfill of this bulkhead. And then after the bulkhead is completed, have the trustees review and come up with a revegetation plan at that point when we see what the final grade is. Like sort of like a two-step process. That after it's completed, then we would go down there and tell them what they had to put in.
Eric, what?
Yes.
But in the meantime, what happens to the plants there where it's not getting water twice a day, salt water?
Okay, so that's next. So we don't know how long the DEC is going to take to act on this. And we also have to provide for retention of the spoil so it doesn't continually enter into the water column. So the proposal is to, within a certain amount of time that we have to discuss, that at the very least a trenched wire-backed silt fence be placed at the edge of the high tide mark to prevent any more silts and fertilizers from entering the water column. To be reviewed by the trustees, that if additional work needs to be done in the interim, that it be like core logs or something else to be placed in there to prevent between now and when the bulkhead is rebuilt. I'm proposing 10 days for the initial wire-back silt fence. What's anybody's suggestions on that? Anybody?
I think that's a 2 week, that would be a two,
2
basically,
weeks.
it would be 2 weeks. Give them two 5-day working periods, which would be 14 days, basically,
All right,
which
how-
would be
how about,
adequate time.
How about by the next meeting? Then we'll know.
That would be
that?
fine.
November
Eric, I
1st.
do have one quick question. Has there been, being that this structure had been removed a year and a half ago, or was it a year plus?
Yeah,
Has
probably.
there been any revegetation by anybody down there in the
No.
area that's been left open?
No, not up until the last time we were there. It's
Wow.
a area of patents with a in some places about a 1 foot scarf.
Okay. Just making sure that there's been no work done down there.
No. And I would say also put out that the applicant has to apply to the Conservation Board for modification of the covenants and restrictions placed on that particular property to exclude the 10-foot back from the from where the bulkhead's going to be constructed in order for us to work there, because as it is right now, precludes any work being done in that area. So those restrictions have to be lifted. That good for the next meeting too, that they have to apply for that? And I can make sure that I've been speaking to the Conservation Board chairman and assured that we try to get this done as soon as possible, the modifications to the covenants and restrictions.
So why don't we say that, when's our next meeting?
The first,
The first would be November 1st.
November
So,
1st.
so it would have to be, we have to be notified by the 29th. No later than the 29th,
Right.
because it's not fair to force, them to call Jessica Monday morning and tell us,
All right. I mean, we need some time, not this last minute stuff. We need to,
Yeah. So,
there needs to be greater communication between the applicants and us about where we are with this thing, because this has gone on long enough and it's got to be remediated.
so it has to be done by the we have to be notified by the 29th, and they have to apply by the 29th to the DEC and to the Conservation Board.
Right. And the silt fence of some sort be in place, will be inspected by the trustees, see that it's adequate. And if it's not doing its job, then we'll have to dictate something else to be put in there in the interim. Now, any thoughts to as far as the time frame for the completion of the bulkhead?
Well,
Any thoughts about that?
I think you realistically, since there's been collaboration between the trustees and the DEC, and Ms. Van John said she was going to be getting that application to the DEC perhaps today even, or in the next couple of days.
Yes,
I think that, to have a project that could, move forward in a more timely fashion is more likely by doing that, especially since we're already synchronizing with them so that there's no big issue, conflict between the two permits.
mhm.
So what do you think is a reasonable amount of time for them to act on their part? For them to actually be able to take an action?
Well,
I think we give them 3 months, and then they have to come back to us if it's not started within 3 months, and then we look at it there. Because they can go back and forth with the DEC, install it for 6 months to a year. Look at Maycock's management plan. We've been waiting a whole lifetime.
yeah, well, we can't control the DEC also, so they could be,
No.
we need a bit more
Yeah.
information.
Right. But I mean, it seems, yeah, but it does seem as though since they were willing to come meet on site and they're very open in the collaborative spirit with the trustees, and I know they have offered to, work with the applicant 65 Cliff Drive, Ms. Van John, to try and expedite things. Maybe they can have it done in like what Trustee Pell is suggesting, in that period
Yeah.
of time.
I think so. I mean, I called him up this morning. I didn't get him, and he called me up 10 minutes later. So, they're readily available to talk to us about this. They're well aware of the whole situation that's going on.
Seems to me they want to find a resolution. They understand the sensitivity to the environment there, and they understand the sensitivity to the adjoining property owners. So I think that Trustee Pell's timeline, I think, is a reasonable timeline.
I would recommend you stick with your regular permit timeframes and write in a recommended start date, not a mandated start date, just because you want to stick with your standard timeframes in these types of instances. So that would be my recommendation to the board.
Thank you,
Well,
Sean.
Thank you,
we do-
Sean, but I think on this, it's kind of dangerous because we want to get, there's so much environmental on this that we don't want to keep on postponing this.
I understand. I just have to advise you guys.
I know.
So how would you advise us, aside from that? I mean, I understand the standard permit terms, but with the sensitivity of what's gone on here, I mean, is there anything more that you think we could do effectively, Sean?
I would say again to write in that any of these things that you're suggesting, write in as recommendations, and that you anticipate these timelines. But I would have your permit terms standard as far as date and dimensional.
So that would be a 1-year term on this permit, but at the recommendation of the trustees, the work should be done within 3 months of issuing this permit, something like that?
Something along that line.
Yeah, I think that's really all you can do.
At which time we will review it. So that gives us.
Well, let's not lose sight of the fact that they're basically in violation of our code by allowing silts to enter into the water column. So this has to take a fast track and get this done. That's why we're going to mandate that they put in remedial efforts right now to stop any more silts and fertilizers going in there. But
Right.
now what happened is that we have a clogged off waterway. You have an environmental situation that should be remedied. So it's not the same as a regular permit that everybody has the time for a year to do. This is a correction of an environmental issue, correction of a illegally mandated removal of a trustee structure. Okay, that was holding back a slope towards the water.
Right, so it goes in the special conditions section?
As a cover,
Yeah, any particular directives will be in special conditions on your permit. If that's the feeling of the board overall, maybe break up these timeframes, one for erosion control, one for the overall permit. You are the board, of course, though.
Well, the
So-
permit's good for a year.
Right,
All permits are good for a year, which can be renewed, but this is a special circumstance that you don't usually have.
right. So it goes under the special conditions of what these requirements are that the board is looking
Right.
for in terms of
Right.
protection for the continued degradation of the creek. So, okay, list them and show them in that section.
Yes.
Okay,
So if you're talking 2 or 3 months, if there's for some extenuating circumstances, you have some natural disaster occurs or something, that they could always come back to the board in the 2 months and say, hey, this is the reason why we have everything ready to go, but we need another week or so. Then that's,
right.
then they can explain that. But,
and Mr. Schultz,
yes.
look on the other side, if they don't do anything and just let it sit and go past the 3 months, is there a violation? On the other side?
Well, there's technically a violation right now. They just haven't been served.
And, okay, so we can serve that violation then.
If that's the will of the board, yes,
Yeah, then we can have the Bay Constables go down and serve it.
yes, yes. Right,
I just wanted to get that out and open.
right, right. Because silts and sediments are not being contained. So what we have to do now is to contain them in the interim and continue to monitor the situation so no more enters. And if we have to keep on forcing, telling them to add additional erosion control devices until that bulkhead is completed. The other thing is that the plans have to be modified to show the dead men and the tie rods on there, and to eliminate the planting design of alterniflora that, and it will show wetland. It just will say wetland vegetation to be determined upon completion of bulkhead.
Yes. Eric, even though they place a bulkhead there and it's a vinyl bulkhead, tongue and groove, I believe there'll still be water getting through those grooves. So it will flood naturally.
Mhm.
I don't think it'll flood enough with those grooves. They get full with sand. They get pretty tight with the pressure.
All right.
Well, right now you have patents growing up top. So it's not as if it's like grass, like turf grass. You have an active stand of patents and other wetland varieties. Yeah.
And once they put the bulkhead in, we'll determine the height behind the bulkhead with the sand.
Well, standard conditions should apply to the bulkhead as far as anything else. I believe it's 6 inches below the whaler. Correct me if
Yes.
I'm wrong.
4 inches.
And it'll be reclaimed. Now,
And what happened to what the grass what's there? Then it's buried? Was that not buried?
no, there's no grass there now. It would only fill from the bulkhead to the edge of the scarf line where the
Okay.
paint right now.
Okay. And how is Ann feel about this? Because it's her area.
I'm okay with moving forward as we are.
Okay, so this will accomplish the goal of having the permit in place. And then if the DEC modifies and allows some holes, then we can quickly modify the permit for that. But I think that this is a very hybrid situation, and we're going to have to monitor it at different stages to determine what type of, in coordination with the DEC, of what type of wetland vegetation we want behind the bulkhead. So we're not getting a bulkhead as high as the previous bulkhead. It's a 1.5 feet above high water. So I think it's a reasonable compromise. Speaking with the DEC, they appear to be okay with it, just just cut some holes in it where they want to put the, if there's any Spartina there. Okay. So, all right, so I don't have a resolution written up because it's just kind of on the fly. So do you want to wait until a little later, and then I'll write it up as I go, and then we'll revisit this down the line. And we can go into public comment period if anybody has anything to say. You okay with that?
I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Because just to give you a little bit of time, I know we opened up the public hearing on the tentative budget to preliminary budget and scheduling a public hearing, but we didn't do that. So if you want to do that, we could take some time to just back up to that public hearing.
Okay. Why don't we do that then? We'll
And then
we'll table this recess on this for a little while, and then allow me to write up a resolution. So
I think that's more sensible.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you want
so
to
just-
conduct that while I'm sitting here writing
Yeah,
this?
no, that's what I was suggesting because it'll
Okay.
give a little bit of time there.
Okay.
So we did open that public hearing, by the way, right?
Yes.
And we do have to set a date. I did email all of you a copy of the budget. And I work very closely with the comptroller's office, and we did an analysis of our last year and our revenues, and we took a look at our spending from 2021. We're doing very well. We're running a surplus. And I did discuss with you, there are some issues that we have to deal with, though, in the very near future. One being the fact that one of the trucks is in very bad shape, and we need to do some electrical work. And Carter Creek also, we got to do some work on the Carter Creek. So is there anything further that you want to review? I think we need to set a public hearing date on this. So I'm just wondering what date you would like to, push this to for a final adoption, because it's not listed here. It just says tentative budget to preliminary budget and schedule a public hearing, but I don't see a date on this form. So you want to do this the 1st? You want to push it to the 15th? I mean, Sean, do you have any suggestion on that? Jessica?
No, just make sure it's within the publishing guidelines that Jessica's working with. So
If we go to the 15th, if we go to the 15th, we know we're safe with that, right?
Yeah.
So, well, then why don't we take the pressure off, go to the 15th. Each and every one of you has a copy of that. And we have had conversations and explanations relative to that. And obviously, I'm one of the most accessible guys around, so you can get to me with any questions. The reality is it's a very conservatively crafted budget. It's mindful of maintaining a substantial fund balance so that we can sustain challenges that may come our way. And if we had any major unforeseen repairs or issues that popped up, we could pass a resolution and infuse capital in from your fund balance and deal with whatever we had to. As Trustee Pell and I were talking about a work barge, and obviously we know that we're always challenged with litigation, and the trustees end up having to take that on their own in many instances. And we're prepared for that. We're prepared very well for that. So the budget is a good guideline. Again, it's conservative. It is mindful of the fact that a lot of people did take advantage of that 3-year permit over the 1-year permit. So that is workload that is off of our staff, which works out, but that's also some recurring revenue in the next couple of years that you're not going to see. So we've accounted for that in handling this conservatively. So, again, we could also make adjustments as need be throughout the year, but it's a transparent process, and it's a good process. So if there's any further questions, Sean, you have something to say?
Yeah, if you could, can you just move to amend the title to include the date you're scheduling for, 11/15?
Yeah, that's what I was going to do because I noticed it wasn't there. So I would like to move to convert the 2022 Board of Trustees tentative budget to preliminary budget and schedule a public hearing for the date of November 15th, 2022 at 1 p.m. general meeting.
Just
Just so I know, just so it's clear, we need to adopt the 2022 final operating budget. So you want to do that on the 15th meeting?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
We just need a second and a vote on that.
Second,
I seconded.
Thank you, everybody.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think that's prudent because our next meeting after that isn't until December 6th.
Yeah, I think, I've spent a lot of time on this and I've spoken to all of you on this. And I think that, we're all on the same page and we've also consulted substantially with the comptroller. And the trustees have come a long way in how we handle our finances and the level of transparency that we have. And, I think it's good. I think we've accounted for what we've had to account for of everybody's concerns. And I think we can move forward confidently. Okay. So that being said, I see Trustee President Schultz. I would like to make a motion to, I guess,
Okay.
do I have to close this part of the public hearing now, Sean?
No, you have scheduled that, you voted on it. Now you can go through. Are you gonna run it or Eric?
I don't know. I see he's a little writing there, so I was trying to help him out.
Yeah, Scott, run it for a little while. I'm writing these.
All right, I
Public
see.
portion and your resolutions.
What's that?
You can go on through public portion and your scheduled resolution.
Right, exactly. I see him diligently writing away. I was trying to help him out. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to address the board? Suggest.
There is someone, his name is Eric. I think he is in the waiting room. Eric
Okay.
Forsberg. He's raising his hand.
Okay.
She's coming in now.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Wurzburg.
Hello. Hey, sorry, I was trying to figure out the Zoom.
Okay. Welcome to public portion. You have something you would like to address the board on, sir?
Thank you. Yes, I do. So so I own East End Explorer, a nature tour company, and we work at North Sea mostly in the waterways around there. And I'm looking to build a small tour boat and hopefully moor it in North Sea Harbor, where I could take, I work with, Stony Brook, Southampton. I work with SOFO, the History Museum, basically get people away from the shore, learning about some of the oyster farms we have out in the bays, a little bit about commercial fishing, just basically do what we do, but a little bit further than kayaks can reach. It's going to be a 28 to 30 foot flat bottom skiff made by Erickson Skiffs. It's not going to be a huge boat, but should be inspected for about 20 passengers. But I know with the mooring requirements, it asks that anything under 40 and over 26 that's going to be used for commercial, I needed to reach out. Do you guys have any questions about it? I mean, I'm a little nervous, sorry, addressing everybody.
Do you have a rough sketch what the boat would look like?
I don't, I do, because I don't have the sketch with me, no. I'm still in the design phase. And it's going to look roughly, I would say, like a large Carolina skiff with perimeter seating, railing around it, and probably 2/3 canopy, just for shade. But a simple skiff, single engine,
Outboard?
outboard, yes. The 150.
And you'd be using the dock at Conscience Point to board?
Not necessarily. I'm working with the designers about actually doing a lift gate where we would just be able to have people walk right in the water through it. And the idea is to be able to take them and teach about marine ecology. We could, pull seine nets, things that we do with our kayak company, but out a little bit further than where we typically do now. And then also, so the pickup locations would vary. I don't necessarily need a dock with the design I'm planning.
So
You do
Because-
realize the commercial mooring was specifically for agriculture vessels. We've never entertained another type of use for these moorings. Am I correct, Bill?
Except for the Sea Scout,
Yes, the Sea
That
Scout.
was supposed to be Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts.
So we're
So-
similar to that. The idea is because we also run Explorer Camp, where we partner with Future Stars. And so it's very similar to the Sea Scout program. But yes, I'm aware, that's why I'm addressing, because I know it's not traditional.
But you're not a 501c3.
I'm not a 501c3.
So it's an eco-tour company you're looking to do, something like that.
But it's a
Yes,
for-profit
we already
company.
do it with kayaks.
So we would need to change our regulations as far as the moorings and possibly include this type of use as far as mooring use.
Correct.
Well, should probably also provide us with, it's great to come on public portion, give us a heads up and have a conversation, but you should probably provide the board with some, written documentation for us to review.
I can definitely do that. I wanted to approach y'all now because we just started with the planning of a build. So ideally, I want to go with the 30-foot vessel, but I'm going to go smaller if I don't have a place to house it and it has to be trailered. So that's why I'm, approaching you all with how you guys feel about it.
I think you're a little early on in the process. The trustees can't promise you a spot to build a boat for and have you rely upon that. I think if you had a boat, that might be a different story. And then we could entertain what changes may need to be made to the code and what kind of insurance would be required and all that. But I think to speak hypothetically and to have you rely on what the trustees could hypothetically accommodate is not productive here. I think maybe speak with the trustee for the area you're looking to do this in offline. And certainly, the trustees are not saying, go ahead and build this thing and that they'll accommodate it at this point in time. Okay.
Well, just to speak to this, it's a given if it was 26 feet or under that it would be accommodated under the, the mooring rules and regulations. It's making the commercial aspect of an eco-tour boat, and providing a mooring for it. So this would be a public hearing process. This would be, vetting it all out for everybody to understand what we're looking at. So, I'm not going to say yes right away until I know a little bit more about what you do, the type of boat that you could possibly be proposing, and the draft of the boat, and a lot more stuff like that.
I have some of that information now, but I can put it in a form and email it to everybody. And then
That'd be wonderful.
And then we can get some feedback and also some images. They won't be exact again because it's based on previous boats that have been built and my customizations to it. But I'll send all that along in an email to all the trustees.
You'd say the basic draft of the boat. I'm
5
pretty
inches, 6 inches.
That's fine.
Okay. So is my best bet now to take a minute, get that information, send it out, and speak with Mr. Pell separately?
You
That'd
can
be
send
a
it
good
to me
starting
and then,
point.
sorry, you can send it to me and then I can forward it around to the board
Right.
whenever you get all that stuff drawn
Exactly.
up. And then
Yeah.
maybe the best thing would be to come on the next meeting on November 1st. What do you guys think?
Okay. And are you guys more concerned with how the boat's going to be used? Who will benefit? Or what information other than the boat specs are you looking for?
Well, for the mooring, it's pretty much just what the boat is and what it's going to
Okay.
be used for.
Okay.
And that's what we look at, the boat's going to be moored here, what is going to be used for, and what does it look like?
Yeah.
And then, plus you have to have insurance liability and all that kind of stuff.
Of course. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't make you any commitments or promises now. This is just a public, you pop it on in public comment, 3 minutes of let's have a talk about whatever, ask a question. There's a lot more considerations, and I would have to say that as Mrs. Feldman said, if you can get her the maximum amount of information that can be distributed to the trustees, then we could make a determination on, what the next, level you could go to is. Okay. So
Yeah. Fantastic.
put that together and send it to her, and then she can distribute it to all parties.
Okay. I sure will. All right. Thank you guys all for your time.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Take care.
Yep, thanks.
Is there anybody else, Charles, with their hand up for discussion in public portion?
No hands.
No hands? All right, so let's go to the permits that have to be approved. And
Okay,
Eric, you're
Ready to
first up.
go. I'm ready to go.
Okay, so go
Okay,
ahead.
all right. So first of all, the tie rods and dead men on that plan shall be noted on the plan, and that's they're gonna have to send in a revised plan. So for the application of 65 Cliff Drive LLC, whereas the Board of Trustees find that the subject project is a type 2 action pursuant to Chapter 6 NYCRR Part 617, no further environmental review is required under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the freeholders and commonality of the town of Southampton authorizes the president and secretary treasurer to sign the permit of 65 Cliff Drive LLC for the construction of a bulkhead 90 feet with a 90-foot long with a 10-foot return with facing piles proposed in a location in which a previous bulkhead was removed as per enclosed plans dated November 18th, 2021. Clean fill from reclamation dredging sand will be placed behind the bulkhead as necessary to return the grade to a level behind the new bulkhead. Further resolved that the following conditions shall apply. A trenched wire-backed silt fence shall be installed at the apparent high tide line prior to November 1st, 2021 to control erosion and additional silts and sediments from entering the water column. Prior to November 1st, 2021, the applicant shall apply to the Conservation Board to remove the current covenants and restrictions relative to the 10-foot setback from the bulkhead line. Also, the applicant shall apply to the New York State DEC and any other agencies regulating the structure prior to November 1st, 2021. Upon completion of the bulkhead, the trustees will inspect the site to determine specifications of the final planting plan. The tie rods and dead men shall be noted on the plan, and any indication of vegetation shall be removed to be determined at a future date. So, any questions on the motion?
I have a question.
Yep. We've
Was
got
any,
the- oh, go ahead.
any
Sorry.
sequel,
Excuse me?
sequel?
Yeah, that's been noted already in the beginning.
And
That's
who-
a type 2.
We're gonna be doing it?
Yeah, that we don't have to do that it's a type 2 action and no further environmental review. So therefore you don't need a environmental impact statement.
And do you think the Conservation Board had one already?
I don't know if they did, but it's not in their jurisdiction to,
Okay.
if they did one, it's not in their jurisdiction under the Wetland Act that was enacted by the town many, many years ago.
Well, I kind of thought so, but I wanted to get it out and open.
Okay. So we
Thank you
have the reclamation dredging that has to be taken from in front of the bulkhead. We have the height. If the DEC decides that that they would like some area of it to be planted with alterniflora, then we can make a modification, a very quick modification on the plan. And after everything settles out, after all the fill is in, then the trustees will go there and determine what the what type of planting that we're going to have. And the silt fence has to be put away. Yes.
The only other thing that I would say is I'm not sure about the cubic yardage on the reclamation dredging. I'm not sure about that. Is there a condition for evaluation based on the DEC's, kind of inspection of the property? Because we had that conversation when we were on site. And I'm not sure if the 36 or 38 is the correct number. And I'm just wondering if there's a ability for an adjustment or modification on that number. Because it seems like
Well-
a small number relative to what has occurred there. And I know when we were there on site with Rob Marsh, he was looking at a certain area and then, going down to a point, but not getting into the legacy part of the substrate there. So I just
Right.
want to make sure that there is some plus or that's possible modification on that number, because it seemed a little bit off when we were on site with the DEC that day.
Well, they
Can we
had
put in,
proposed a number of 38, but that's basically to be determined by where the fill is going to end up at the top of the bulkhead. So it might be 40, might be 60. There's all kinds of numbers flying around, but it
Right,
has to
so-
come from the reclamation dredging. And we have not put a number in. That's what they're proposing to be put in. But it says on our plan that it has to come up to, the top within the regular
4
conditions
inches.
bulkhead. Okay,
So do you have to reword, is it like a to be determined number? How do you handle that? Because, this is
Well,
a delicate,
well, it says clean fill of sand from reclamation dredging will be placed behind the bulkhead as necessary to return the grade to the level behind the new bulkhead. So it's not gonna be like, okay, they reach 38 yards and that's it. It has to come up to the top of the grade. So it might be, it's difficult in that area because you have different areas of erosion. There's different slopes of the hills, and it's rather difficult to just figure that out.
all right, so you just got to word it so that it achieves the goal that you need to achieve there for everybody.
Oh, okay.
38, how
Okay,
about-
so I see where you're coming from. So we want to establish a free flow of water through that particular mouth of that canal. So then that should be then determined about what the minimum that we, like a foot below high water or a width like that.
And that was sort of what they were saying. And when I say they, I mean the DEC, when we were on site at that meeting, they looked at it and said, you're going to have to take this down, but you can't hit the legacy stuff. It's got to not disturb that. Just get that top layer off and get it back, reestablished to where it was without digging beyond that. I remember specifically going through that with them. So I don't know what that calculation at the end of the day was. And they were pending, obviously, the survey on the elevations. So you want to be fair to what it is that we're trying to achieve here. And then you want to spell it out as best as we can so everybody can kind of do what's necessary to get this thing, totally remediated without any more issue.
Okay, so how about a reclamation dredge shall be performed to reestablish an adequate tidal flow into the canal? Specifications
I'd say
should be at least 1 foot below high water mark.
yeah, and then obviously at the end of the day, the DEC is going to set their numbers. I mean, anytime we're going for a dredging permit, we're applying to the DEC, so they're gonna set those numbers. So I just think we should craft our permit so that it recognizes the fact that they're gonna set those numbers, and they're gonna be mindful of, not going beyond the depths to create any further issue, and remedying what needs to be achieved, and that is getting that water flow back to where it was.
Right, okay, so that area was pretty shallow because that's and Ed can attest to this, that it's that way for a while. So what would you say, a foot lower than high water mark at the very least?
I think that's what they were talking about when we were on
Yeah.
site.
Okay, right, a foot lower than high water mark should be delineated on there, at least a foot lower, and then by a width of what, 12 feet? 20 feet,
It's
12 feet?
12
feet.
feet, you're gonna end up with 10 once you're done cutting it, so, yeah.
Okay,
And you're basically just gonna scoop off the top. You're gonna pull off the top. You can't go
Right.
deep.
Right.
right. Right. Okay. Okay, I think that can be achieved. Okay, so in addition to that, at the end of at the conditions, the reclamation dredge shall be performed to reestablish an adequate tidal flow into the canal. Specification shall be at least 1 foot lower than the high water mark for the length of the bulkhead and 12 feet wide.
Yep.
Okay. So that means that if there's any, if they take the fill out, if they take that fill out and if there's left over, then they're going to have to remove it somehow. Some other place to reestablish because we are building a bulkhead lower than what it was before. Okay, so it's not going to take as much fill as possibly what was lost over the course of the years. There's been some boards left, and some of it's filtered out. The same as the bulkhead to the east. That's got alternative flora all throughout there now because that bulkhead has basically failed, and a lot of that fill has gone into the water column also over the years. So is everybody good with that? That you'll have at least a channel that runs for the length of the bulkhead by at least a foot below high water mark?
That'd be similar to recreating what was there.
Wait a minute. Should it be the high water mark or the low water mark? Foot below low water mark. Right?
I mean, they could do a core, they could do a core and see where they're hidden those sediments, that sedimented bottom, and they're not gonna go into that. They're just gonna come off the top of that.
Know what I'm
right?
saying? If you got a foot below high water mark, when the
Foot
water
below low water.
zero, it'll be dry. So it
Yeah,
should be a
a
foot
foot-
below low water mark.
Foot below
Yes.
low water, that would create a channel.
Right. Low. Okay. I'm writing this up on the fly here. Okay. Okay. Any other comments on this? Any other changes or to those requirements? Okay, so I'll make the motion that we approve this with the following conditions that should apply. Have a second on it?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Can we call the roll, please?
Yeah, sure.
This is for the motion to recall and amend, right?
Oh, okay. Recall, first of all, we have to do a recall and amend, right? Okay, motion to recall and amend. I make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Second one is the application that's before us with the following conditions. Anybody have any further comments on specifications that they'd like to see? Okay, so I'll make the motion that we approve this with the following conditions. Have a second?
Second.
Ed seconded. All in favor?
Can we
Aye.
call the roll?
All vote, roll call vote. Scott?
Okay, Trustee Schultz,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Horowitz, I'm an aye. Trustee Ed J. Warner Jr.
It's an aye, and I'd like to explain why, because I think it's time that we basically be recognized, our jurisdiction, not to have people cross over the line and permit and take over our area, which we've been governing for hundreds of years. And I think it's important that we try to recreate what was there prior to this project being done. Basically, the ability for the public that lives on that dredge canal to be able to at least access the upper Sag Harbor Cove via a paddleboard or a kayak or a canoe. We're not looking for a deep navigable channel. We're just looking for tidal exchange, for making sure the environment is kept well in that dredge canal and that it is not necked off and left for the possibility of some kind of toxic algae bloom to take place without proper water circulation. So mine is a yes.
Yeah. And to add on to Trustee Warner, I mean, this is another example of a continued erosion, not only of, the beaches or other areas of land, but a continued possible erosion of the trustees' authority and jurisdiction. And I think that that's not a good thing.
Okay.
Trustee Welker.
You forgot Trustee Pell.
Trustee Pell. But I was going to get to him, but
Hmm.
you want him to go
problem.
first? That's fine.
That's right. Ann can go. She's a lady. Go ahead,
That's a
Ann.
first. This project has been a challenge on many fronts, as we all know, as well as costly and time consuming.
Yeah.
The collaboration amongst local residents, government officials, elected officials, and the applicant is to be commended. Hopefully will result in an acceptable result for all, although perhaps not timely. If one looks back at the town of Southampton GIS records, one will see that although this is a man-made canal built in the 50s, only one side of the canal is bulkheaded. The other side, the west side, has been left in its natural state. Again, looking at the aerials, you will see over time that not only has the mouth of this canal been filling in, but as has the body of the canal due to natural processes. Water exchange has been reduced over the years and sedimentation has increased, again, due to natural processes. Water quality in Sag Harbor Cove is heavily impaired due to excess nutrients from septics, fertilizer, and pesticides from lawns and irrigation systems. With poor water quality comes the loss of seagrass and spartina, both of which provide stability to marshland ecosystems. The result, looking at the bigger picture here, drawing back the lens, in the face of sea level rise, will shore hardening structures be the face of the future? Peconic Estuary Partnership study revealed that there was an increase in many linear feet in the bulkheads on Peconic Bay. My vote is no for the approval of the reinstatement of this bulkhead. Although a difficult decision, natural and living shorelines are the way of the future, given the forces of climate change and sea level rise.
Okay, Trustee Pell.
I vote yes, and I reinform what Ed said and what you said, Scott. It's, what more can you say about it?
Okay, motion carries. I'd just like to say one thing, one clarification is that we don't have jurisdiction on Peconic Bay. So any bulkheads that were approved on Peconic Bay has been under Conservation Board's purview. So, all right,
All except for the Peconic Beach Road, Eric, which we do have jurisdiction on.
right.
All right, to clarify that.
And Ed, is any bulkheads there?
Yes, there is. There's multiple
Yeah.
bulkheads along there.
Very
That's all
old.
right. Yeah, but there's no new ones.
No. All right, so trustee resolution 2021-247. General permits of modification. First modification, Joel and Jody Berger. We discussed this at work session. So I'd like to make a motion. It's on Tanner's Neck Lane. I'd like to make a motion that it be approved.
Second that
Second.
one.
Like it.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so carried.
Recording in progress.
Trustee resolution 2021-248. This is a modification, the first one for Stephen Wax of 38 Basket Neck Lane in Remsenburg. This was the boat lift one. We reviewed it at work session. Make a motion that be approved.
Second.
Second.
Ed seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I got trustee resolution 2021-249, application of Brothers Real Estate Ventures LLC, 83 West Diana Road, Hampton Bays, tax map 900-257-3-3. Recommend its approval.
Second.
Ed, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2021-250. Application to Susan Kurland, 23 Bayside Avenue, East Quogue, tax map 900-373-2-28. Vetted at work session, worked on it diligently. Recommend its approval.
Second.
Second.
And seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Eddie?
Trustee Resolution 2021-251. Application for Jamie Apicola and Peter Von Lee, 58 Westway Drive, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-233-1-29, body of water, Shinnecock Bay East. We went through this at work session. I recommend its approval.
Second.
Ed, Bill seconded it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2021-252. It's a general permit. Application is Melinda Hacken, 81 West Neck Point Road, North Sea, tax map 992-3-1.7.
Second.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Ed seconded it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Trustee Resolution 2021-253, general permit. Application is Pamela Slayer, 7 Millstone Lane, North Sea, tax map 900-110-2-18, body of water, man-made canal off Sabina Creek.
Second.
Ed seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2021-54. Application is Cedar Crest Road LLC, 39 Cedar Crest Road, North Sea, body of water Davis Creek.
Okay,
Second.
Ed seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye. Okay, the next one is 2021-255. We did that already. Moving on to the next one.
That's mine, 2021-176. It's the home rule message. I'm gonna have to table this again because it's just not,
Right, okay.
okay. So
Can
a
we-
motion to table it.
Second.
Ed seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2021-226 to authorize the contribution to the Sag Harbor Water Quality Initiative for 2021. I would like to recommend its approval because I feel that this is a program that we should continue to contribute to. The trustees are charged with water quality preservation, and this is an important component of that. I'd like to recommend its approval.
Yeah, well, I have a question on that motion there. I don't like being put in the spot of having work being done and then being asked to pay for it after it's being done with no input in the beginning. Also have a problem with these people applying to us instead of the CPF fund, which should be done for the water quality. We're under a lot of pressure right now. We have to watch every dollar, and it was portrayed to us that this was going to be the last time around was going to be the last time they were going to cease. They were only looking to do some work to determine whether there was going to be where the pollution was coming from, whether the sewage plant or from upland sources. To do this and then come after the work's been done without us not having any input in the first place is wrong. Second, where does it stop? Okay, we could have 15 different other organizations start up, all asking us for money to do this work on their own with no oversight from us. We're paying to do this water testing and we don't have any control of it at all. And it's been done already. So that's what I'm saying. But it put us in a spot where if we don't vote for it, then we look like we are people that don't care about testing the waters. And everything. We are the people that are supposed to test the waters. We're supposed to do the work. If people want to come up and do some work on the waters, then ask us, and so we can have some input on it, not do it and then just send us the bill.
So going forward,
Eric,
if we request of this committee that we be part of the proposed monitoring situations when they're setting them up next spring or this winter, would that make more sense to you?
I think they should apply for the CPF funding from the water quality. That's what it was set up for. That's who's handling Mill Pond and everything else.
I think, like I said earlier, and then I know Trustee Pell wants to say something. I didn't mean to jump in there, but I
go
think
ahead.
that there's
You probably
the
might
water-
say the same.
well, I think that there's the Water Quality Protection Fund. I think revenues
Right.
generated by some fee put on violations or something. And, obviously there's enforcement on trustee regulations, of which we don't get any of that enforcement revenue. But I think at the very least, they should be able to segment some of those funds out of that. I know they worked with the gentleman who's doing a fabulous job with the kids back west doing the water testing on the ponds. I think that's a great program. He's getting the youth involved in water testing. And here you go again. Here we are in Sag Harbor. Water testing. I think they should be able to figure out what they could contribute out of that fund and get the work done. Pay for the appropriate expenses out of the appropriate fund. Do it ahead of time. That way there's a plan and everybody knows what's going on. I think that's how the public best benefits. But go ahead, Bill. I didn't mean to jump in.
No, I was going to say the same thing. And didn't he come to us first and we sent him to the Water Protection Fund? He came to us to access and then we sent him over there.
Yes, and I think that they were accommodating to that. And I don't,
Yep.
I think that they should be accommodating to this group as well. I know we have helped out in the past and, like President Schultz said, we like to be collaborating with people, and I would love to collaborate with these folks and get with what has to be done. But there's a lot of validity to what Trustee Schultz is saying. Okay, there's a tremendous amount of validity there. It's absolutely warranted, and I think that I've offered to work with UN and work with those folks to try and secure what it is that they need from the proper place, and it shouldn't be that much of a struggle. So,
You know what it is? You know what it is, Scott? It's easier to come to us and ask us than do all the paperwork and ask them.
Maybe
The trustees, I believe that, go ahead, Ed.
Being that I'm a commercial shellfish harvester and it's monitoring the growing area in Sag Harbor Cove, which I'm always in favor of monitoring these areas, getting as much information as we can. But once we accumulate this information and find out where there's some water quality issues or maybe not water quality issues, how can we use the science to better apply what we're doing? Basically, if we have water quality monitoring in Sag Harbor Cove, and you find there's an area in there, maybe by the outflow pipe or someplace up by one of the marinas, that there's a degraded water quality, why can't we work with the Sag Harbor Water Quality Protection group and come up with a plan to implement using maybe 100,000 or 200,000 oysters in an area where there's degraded water quality, and to see if actually utilizing this filtering mechanism actually will benefit the whole harbor at large. Then you would have got some substance out of this whole monitoring, something that, was a tangible result. It's something that we can apply to this. Right now, we keep getting these reports and pretty much we read them and then we put them on a shelf. This is not the spirit of what I think should be done with it. The spirit is that we should come up with it. If there's an issue that arises, come up with a plan to resolve it, or at least try to resolve it, and then put that whole formula before the CPF 20 committee. Have oysters, see where the water quality is, and contribute X amount of money from the CPF fund, and then monitor it for a couple of years to see if we can resolve the issues that we have found out through this process of monitoring this area. This
So
is where I
that's-
think it would benefit everybody.
So Ed, you're spot on. That's exactly what this committee has done. And this committee is in a tricky situation because, as we know, Sag Harbor has a line down it. Half of Sag Harbor Village is part of East Hampton Town, and the other part is part of Southampton Town. They have been laser focused on the sewage treatment plant and the boaters and trying to determine whether the high bacterial counts were coming from the sewage treatment plant or the boaters that were outside, both inside and outside the jetty there. They focused a lot of their energy and a lot of this money on that. Now they're coming over to that was all in East Hampton, on the East Hampton side. Now they're coming over to the Southampton side. They're looking at the point source pollution that is from the pipe that's near the Beacon restaurant. They're looking to try and determine what exactly is coming out of that pipe. And then, as you're stating, what can we do with this data to remediate the effects of this water?
Okay, but I think that we have to draw on some common sense of people, and rather, it's a very sore subject with me, all these plans, and I've rescued boxes and boxes of studies and plans that were never implemented, that were thrown out, going back from the 30s, 40s, 50s, all the water data. And I see, what we based on the ultimate population density of this town when I was on the planning board. Let's see that systematically being dismantled right before my eyes, exponentially, with the gigantic size houses in this same area that are being allowed to be built. So we're paying to study things. Meanwhile, Board of Appeals, planning boards, other boards are allowing unbridled development, gigantic size houses on tiny lots, and we're doing studies. We all know where everything's coming from. Native intelligence tells you that pipe is putting out effluents. So rather than study it, then just fix it. Just like Ed Warner's father and Bill Bennett and those guys on the trustees, they didn't do a study for Fish Cove. They said they collaborated with the highway superintendent, and they stopped every source of road water runoff in that cove. And within a year, it had cleaned up and was under a conditional shellfish area. That was a project because they said, we're not going to study it, we're just going to do it. Okay. Everybody knows where this stuff's coming from. Start doing it. Start going to the Board of Appeals and telling them, stop allowing this unbridled development. Stop changing the whole master plan. And the fact of the matter is, what really annoys me is that, they just did it, and now they're asking for money after the fact. It puts us in a very bad situation because now we're looked upon as, we're not for testing waters. Yeah, that's what I don't like, being put in that position. I don't like surprises. I like to be in front of things. They never had the foresight to come to us and tell us they were doing this before they did it. We would have maybe had some other suggestions. So this town is at a very important juncture right now, and I see it every master plan and everything that I achieved on the planning board, taking thousands of lots out of the equation to preserve water for the ultimate population of the density of the ultimate population of the town, is just being completely watered down with all these wonderful, affordable housing projects and everything like that. You might as well just throw the master plan away, because the entire town is it sounds like they just put a for sale sign on the Sunrise Highway as you're coming into town. I'll get off my soapbox now.
No,
I
you do a good job.
You've been there for how many years, Eric?
48 years,
48 years.
two
Is that,
different.
is that what they're using those 2 billboards for?
Yeah, yeah. Unbelievable. It's just terrible to see the town degrade this fast exponentially. The size of the houses, and we're doing more testing. And look at the governor just put $100,000 to develop it, to have a plan to control the Atlantic Ocean and funnel it into a pipe into Shinnecock Bay to clean the bay up. Where's that going to go? That'll go up on the shelf. That'll be somebody's paperweight. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm going off tangent. I could go.
But they spent the money on that, but didn't spend the money on a water body that has to be opened up to the ocean for hundreds of years, Mecox Bay. So
Right.
we're at a stopping point there, but they're spending 150 grand on something with no budget and no permits, and the threat of major pending litigation if you use Mecox as a guide. It doesn't make common sense, does it?
Well, the voting public should, really acquaint themselves with who's running for trustee and who they think is going to defend their rights the most, because the trustees are in the process of in my eyes, being defunded, and more and more proves that we're in the way of progress. Where's everybody going to go to the beach if you lose those very important court cases? Well, you might as well just live here, work, go home at 5 o'clock, stay in your house, and then go back to work again the next morning, because you won't be able to use any of the resources anymore. That's just my opinion from the way I see it from experience. And you know what? Going back in time, we had some really progressive thinkers in government in this town. Marty Lang, who, we developed, when I was on the planning board, we developed we upzoned the town. We saved thousands of acres up there for water resources. We did the split lot zoning. We're the first town to initiate the mandatory clustering law. We're the ones who promoted it before the state. All kinds of innovative planning to control the development, based on water needs. And I don't know, it's just being wrecked.
Weren't the trustees the driving force behind the pump out boat program?
Yeah, essentially, your father and Bill Bennett originally proposed a barge to be anchored out in the middle of Shinnecock Bay, and the boats could pull up to it and pump out. And then that transformed into basically getting the first pump out boats on Long Island. Trustees were ahead of their time on that issue too. I got to bring up what I was saying about some of these people that ran this town. When I came in to the trustees, the conservation board, Dode Hulse, Theodore Hulse was, Thomas Jefferson, but Theodore Hulse was the supervisor of the town, was a conservative, and he proposed in 1972, I believe, when I first got on the conservation board, that there be a limitation to the square footage of houses on the dunes, because it was recognized that the dunes were retreating over the years, and he didn't want the heroic efforts being made to preserve $1 million houses. So the first $1 million house was in West Hampton Beach by a guy who owns Simplicity Patterns. That was the big talk around town, and he proposed a resolution before the town board, and it didn't pass. But you had people that were, ahead of their times. Roy Wines, Gil Foster, Charlie Belt, had real common sense people that knew what to do, and just go do it. Don't study it, just do it. And that's seriously lacking now. They know they would make mistakes every once in a while, but they just did it. Because somebody's got to do something. Sorry, I keep on.
That's all right. Well, the trustees, look, we're the ones that are running the threatened and endangered species program in the town, right? Trying to help, the wildlife out, help the birds out at the same time, balancing maximum public access, right?
Right.
The trustees, the board closest to the people, the common sense
Right.
people, the people that are trying to like hold it all together.
Yeah.
But
we're in the way. We're in the way. And absolutely. And the biggest problem is that the changing demographics of the town, that people do not realize that there's two separate governments in the town, right? It's like no other place. So they think they're voting for the town board and what's this trustee board? Meanwhile, the trustees have just been plugging along through this whole COVID thing. They got the whole dock rebuilt down in Eastport, right, Scott? We bought on that. We got the whole new dock in West Hampton. Baycrest Avenue's been completely redone. East Quogue's going to start right away.
Yeah.
Commercial dock in Road H.
Yeah.
Right. Road H. We got a functioning pump out program going.
A lot of dredge projects.
A lot of things. I mean, this board was the ones who took New York State on and stopped them from charging for a saltwater fishing license.
We're going to start on the boat ramps next year.
That's right. Boat ramps. We're going to get some boat ramps fixed.
But
So that we have the
there are a lot of
access.
stuff. I hear this stuff. I've been listening to some of the talk in this campaign from other people and everything. And it's like, oh, we want to preserve the water. We want to do this, want to put oysters in. They have no idea of what the trustees are facing these days, the legal challenges on the beach about your ability to even walk, first the trucks versus then the parking on the beach, then it'll be walking on the beach. If you don't have a strong board, if you don't, this board controls, and I hear also people, the beaches are the economic engine. Well, you know who controls the economic engine of this town? This board and the 26,000 acres of bay bottom. And you know what? You know what the town board thinks of this? You know what the town board thinks? They want to put us in the basement, moldy basement of the town hall. They want to move us down there. That's how much they think of this board. It's a disgrace. Okay, I'll stop.
Well, no, you're right. I mean, look at Mecox, okay? Mecox's been managed for hundreds of years, and we're trying to help out the folks, the agricultural community, the commercial fishing community, the recreational, all the homeowners there, all the things that are affected are outside of our jurisdiction, right? They're in other people's jurisdiction. Are they standing shoulder to shoulder to help us remedy this? Really?
No.
So we've done what we could.
Yes.
I got a truckload of duct tape and bubble gum, and I'm trying to hold things together around here. It's the reality.
And on top of that, we have roads. We have roads up in the hills that we don't even own. That's been told that we own them, but we don't, which I know for a fact we don't. And it's depleting our resources. We chew up all our part-time hours for our guys in the wintertime plowing these roads and maintaining the roads, so we don't have them in the summertime to do required maintenance on all our other issues. 26,000 acres of bay bottoms that we have to maintain, put in buoys and set dock piles and all the rest of the stuff, and clean up dead deer along those roads and everything. And promise that we're going to get funds, and then find out where it's being pulled back. What are we supposed to do? Bankrupt the trustees so we can patch up some roads?
No,
and the people
you can't bankrupt the trustees.
I know that the people that live on the road should be just as mad as we are. And
I think they are there. I think they are.
Rightfully so. So you go to the town board and tell them, what are you going to do about the roads? You're collecting taxes on these roads. You're not giving anything to the trustees for it. You expect us to maintain these old dirt roads that were not ours in the first place.
Right. Where does public safety factor in? Because public safety should be number one. And that's why we've been doing the best we can with these things, so we can keep people safe. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of challenges that we face. And sorry, my career is coming to an end soon. So I guess that's just my finale.
It's public portion. You can have 30 minutes to public history.
do is in public, I've seen government, how it's supposed to work and how it's not supposed to work. And as far as anything other than the trustees is not working. So, okay.
That's what it's all about right there. That's the motivation right there. That's the motivation for the mission right there. It's
We're
called
being photobombed.
legacy and generations to come. You got to lock it all down for that kid, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
our grandchildren and beyond. You know,
He wants to know
lock it
how
all
you're
down.
gonna protect her access to the ocean and beaches.
Yeah. Now ask me how I really feel. Okay.
Come on, Leila.
Oh, let's
Gotta give
move
up.
on. Okay.
Are we gonna vote
All
on
right,
this
so
thing?
Okay.
Again?
So
You know,
this-
This
We
is,
have the
you know,
Authorize-
everybody's got excellent points on this thing here. They really do. And you know how I feel. But I don't, you know, water
Sorry for that,
testing is
guys.
important.
Okay. So resolution 2021-226 is on the table. I mean, right.
226. Yeah.
Yeah, 226 that Ann has proposed. Do we have a second on it?
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
I'm going to give you,
Can I have a roll
Opposed?
a roll call, please?
yes,
Okay.
sir. I'll take care of that right away, sir. Trustee President Eric Schultz.
Aye.
Aye. Trust Secretary Treasurer Scott M. Horowitz, I'm gonna vote to work with the folks. But I would like them to come to us, you know, as soon as possible, and let's try and figure something out that makes sense out of the appropriate fund. Okay, Ann? Water quality testing is important, and I think that there's a better way to do this so that they have sustainability on that funding. And I think that it's just better planning, and I think you're going to get a better result. And I think, as some of the other trustees have said, it should be attached to an action plan. So you have my support on this. Trustee Ed J. Warner Jr.
Well, just like we observed the poor water quality and Western Shinnecock Bay and partnered with Cornell Cooperative Extension, Stony Brook College, the governor, and the Baymen's Association and other user groups to plant millions of clams to push back the poor water quality. I'd like to partner with the Sag Harbor water quality people and work towards basically a project using oysters or other shellfish, maybe scallops, in an area where degraded water quality is determined by this whole water sampling to help push back the poor water quality and make Sag Harbor Cove a better environmental area. So my vote is going to be yes.
Okay, so Trustee William Pell IV.
I feel the same way as Scott does and Ed, that they have to find another resource to partner up with us. So my vote is yes.
Okay, and I think I know what your vote is.
Unequivocally. Unequivocally, yes. And thank you, all of you.
Motion carries.
Okay. Trustee resolution 2021-256. Authorize the president to sign a stipulation of settlement of Dubeck versus trustees Barron and Koenig. Have a second?
Second.
Second.
Scott seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right.
Okay,
I got
next one.
trustee resolution 2021-257. It's warrant number 18 of 2021. It's for $7,547.76. I'll quickly give you the breakdown. We've got Dime Community for 2104.66. Call Ahead for $50. Safe Harbor Publications for $195.41. InterScience $3,860.50. Town of Southampton, 600, Verizon Wireless, 316.42, WB Mason, 420.77, total 75.47.76. Let's pay our bills. Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Second.
Ed seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other discussions going on?
Yes.
Anyone pick something up? Okay.
I have been talking to the new owners of the old Jackson's Marina, Prime Marine, and they are interested in doing a project removing all the cement and other debris that has been placed on the eastern side of their shoreline over the last 50+ years, and using it as bringing it to a cement plant and having it ground up and taken care of. I'd like to enter into an agreement with them, allowing them to do dredging in their inside their big marina and Abe's Cove, which is our underwater's land, and putting the material, the resultant deposition material, back on the beach where they remove all the debris that's going to be taken away to a landfill, and cleaning that area up and raising up the berm that's there substantially, maybe 3 or 4 feet, in order to protect the marina from a Hurricane Sandy such storm, and allow us, it's on our property, we own it, so it would be revegetating it and making it a nice, clean beach for the public to go down and sit on.
Is there an application coming in for this?
There's an application that they have to do the dredging and the bulkheads. But on top of that, I met with Rob down there at the marina. He expressed his, basically want to do this. And I said it would be a good project. So maybe I can meet with Sean and see if we can draft some kind of agreement between us and the marina to allow them to go down on the beach with insurance and everything, take all that debris out of there, and in the future use it as a deposition site. It was a deposition site for when they did the dredging on the outside, the 2 areas where they have slips. They did put all the material there and grade it out. So that part on there, on the upland of our part, where it sisters up to theirs, is all nice sand. But I like to go down below at basically at the spring mean high water and remove all of that debris and cobble and all the bad stuff there. There's rebar rusted off. It's a very dangerous place to take a walk on the beach.
So we're going to be working on an application.
I will work on an application with them, with Sean, to craft something so that we can have them remove all of that garbage out of there and put some nice clean fill there.
That's a great idea. It's been a mess for a long time.
Well, I think it's a great win for the community. So
It is a great win.
Yep.
And if you want to set a meeting in your office, and I'll meet you down there.
Yes.
Anytime next week or the following week.
Okay, sounds good. Yep.
Hey, Ed, I think that's a great idea, but did we ever finish doing the boundary lines down there?
No, we did not. We did not finish the boundary lines there.
I think that should be part of it.
Well, this is all in our
Yeah,
property.
but they still have boundary line issues down
Oh,
there.
there's all kinds of issues there, and
Yeah. So we should,
they need-
I think they're doing a great job down there too. They're keeping it very clean, and when I go by, it looks very nice. But
Yes.
we also should straighten out the boundary lines, what's theirs and what's not.
I did bring up the idea of a pump out base, basically slip area, and they were also amenable to that. So I think it's a much larger project that we could actually visit the project that we originally had discussed with them. Unfortunately, their attorney didn't quite see it the way we did, but I think they would be agreeable to, or I'll bring it up to them in discussion. Maybe when I meet with Sean, I'll ask if they can have a representative at that meeting so we could discuss it on a larger basis. Would that be better for everybody?
Yeah, because in most cases, property, we always tell them to clean up the boundary lines before we issue a permit with them. This one, we keep on looking the other way.
Well, a lot of the area that they're doing their project, that they own the underwater lands right there. So that's pretty much cleaned up. But other places on the south side there are, I mean, I remember the whole box stuff. I don't even know where it is, but I could dig it up. There was quite a few questions that we all had about it. So
yeah, it was a mess.
All right, we got an exec session yet to go through yet, right?
yes.
Okay, so anybody else have anything?
Just quickly, Mill Pond, the number of carp that were removed. So over the past 10 days, Carp Management Solutions from Minnesota came and removed carp from Mill Pond and Watermill. They did baiting for 4 days, and then they did 3 different removals over the 10-day period. They removed 5,640 pounds of carp and 3,600 carp. So those were really good numbers. Those were as large as the total of 3 different times that were done in 2019 and 2020. So that's optimistic. So we hope that also last week, Ed Warner and I presented to the town board on behalf of the Mill Pond project for asking for funding for water quality measurement, for further carp removal, and for additional floating wetlands, in addition to a fishery survey after the carp have been removed. So we hope that the town board will look favorably upon this project for Mill Pond, which is as highly an impacted water body as Lake Agawam by harmful algal blooms. And they're trying, this is a pilot project that we're running in Mill Pond with carp removal, but we hope that if it's effective, that we'll be able to that it will be scalable and replicable to some of the other 90 freshwater bodies in the town of Southampton, because carp are not just in Mill Pond, and they do, through their through some of their behaviors, stir up a lot of sediment in the bottom of the pond, and that resuspends that sediment and causes further eutrophication of the water bodies, which then in turn feeds the harmful algal blooms. So I think it's projected that either at the end of the month or the beginning of November, the town board will vote on these water quality projects. So we hope they'll look favorably upon this Mill Pond project.
Okay. Where are we on Mecox?
So we've applied for an extension to the emergency authorization. The bay height is just below the orange line, which is the indicator to open. My understanding is that the county contract, which had previously been held by Chesterfield's, is no longer held by them, but by another organization, which is based further west. So when we receive the approval for the emergency authorization, we will be contacting the new owner of the county contract. But as a sideline, we are applying for, and Scott, maybe you can help me flesh this out a bit. We are applying for a separate resolution to do a separate bid for local companies that are used to opening both SAG and Mecox, so that we have that local knowledge again going forward.
Did you call the new contractor to see if he is available to come out here when we call, and how much it's going to charge?
No, I haven't. We've looked at his website. Ed, did you speak to anybody else about H&L to see?
Not yet, no.
Right. So we're working on that, Bill. We're sort of doing our research on it.
Okay.
I was
Just don't wait
planning on
till the
doing that today. I'm sorry. I was planning on doing that today. I was muted. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
I was planning on doing that today. And
Later.
A lot of moving
exactly,
parts.
but we're going late. And the
Lot of
thing
things
is that, yeah, we are working on putting together our own bid package. And so instead of piggybacking off the county contract, we would have our own local contract. It's a bit of work the comptroller's office has to do, but you know, that's what we're ultimately going to do. So there is procedures in place here. This is what happens. You got to follow those regulations, but we are moving in that direction. And I intend to be having a conversation, and there'll be more information to follow. Sean may have something to add. I don't know. No.
Stated perfectly. yes, you guys want to engage in your own RFP process, so piggybacking is no longer necessary. And you don't have to have this surprise come up the next time the county contract expires.
Right,
Does-
so we're wheels in motion on solution for this, and we also have, we have a protocol in place, and we're gonna be having a conversation, so there'll be more information, but, sitting on this board, it's like you're on a tennis court with no tennis racket, and they got one of those machines, and they're just firing balls at you, you know what I
That's
mean?
right.
So it's like, we'll get there,
New issue.
we'll get there.
So we're working on it. It did come as a surprise to us, as it was mentioned, and we're working on it.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Anybody else? Got anything? Okay. So executive session, Scott, how does 4 o'clock sound good for you? Is
Yeah,
enough?
that should be fine. I should be able to make 4 o'clock. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
I'm
Right,
gonna be
so-
calling in. Oops, sorry. I'm gonna be calling in. So if one of you guys could have your phones charged.
Is there a hand there? I mean, are we still taking public comment here? I see a hand over here.
Oh, I
Are
don't
we,
know.
are we procedurally taking public comment here, or where are we at?
Not really, but if someone wants to say something, I guess, so we've always been
What's the
open.
town attorney?
I don't have much more to add to 65 Cliff and how the gentlemen have addressed remediating a dire problem. You had mentioned that you're putting in that material from the front of the bulkhead needs to be pulled back onto the property, but there is no mention of the material that is running off into the neighboring properties. Those two red lines indicate that's all material that's coming next to 65 Cliff. So it's not only bleeding out in front into the canal, it's coming onto the neighboring properties. That is the Brodies. I think they're 61, and I don't have a clear enough image on the runoff to the property on the other side of 65 Cliff. So if you could add that line, not only in the front, material needs to be removed, but on the neighboring properties, 65 Cliff material is still there. And the numbers of calculations simply just don't add up to be 35 cubic yards to what Mr. Horowitz was saying. The property on plan is, before the bulkhead was removed, 3 feet from watermark, and it was 2 feet 2 on one corner, 2 feet 5 on the other corner, with an 85 feet bulkhead. That's 111 cubic yards. The numbers simply don't add up to 38 cubic yards in any incantation of math. And back to Mr. Schultz, when he was saying, if they're going to be allowed to put in a lower bulkhead, the amount of cubic yardage simply won't be supported. They have more material, so it will need to be carted off. I just
Right.
want to mention those things just because when you're working with 38 cubic yards, it seems like a much more containable problem and an easier solution than the reality that we are living with. And as of November 2020, First Coastal estimated 160 cubic yards. So I am so appreciative that they're going to contain this land that had been contained for 54 years prior to the illegal removal. And we are just very, very appreciative for all of your energies and hard work. And if that number system were remediate reclamation dredge down to -1 foot, as First Coastal had recommended, that would probably get us back to where we were prior to the man-made tree that Marty Shea had caused with the developer. So I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'm going to call for closing the meeting and going into executive session for litigation purposes and personnel
That's at 4 o'clock, right?
at 4 o'clock.
Okay,
Make the motion.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. See you
Yeah.
later.
And I set up a bridge conference call.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's you. But because I wasn't sure, 'cause